So this is 21:16 hours GMT on Thursday, the 3rd of September 2020. This recording is made live in London, East London, United Kingdom. Now, this has got two aspects to it. One is this constitutes part 2 of the diagnosis of the Fleet Street newspapers of today, Thursday, the 3rd of September 2020, and the other is the community campaign in Brick Lane demanding the Tower Hamlets Council stops the closure of Brick Lane to the traffic. And that campaign will continue, and we shall be updating regularly on that. And the other aspects, the sub-aspects, if you like, on the campaign against the closure of traffic in Brick Lane is the demand for Tower Hamlets Council to explain to the community what was the evidential basis, what research, what investigation they carried out to introduce the closure of traffic in Brick Lane 7 years after they were forced to stop this. And why does Tower Hamlets Council keep trying it on? Who is behind this? Whose agenda is the Tower Hamlets Council actually implementing in attacking the community and their businesses in Brick Lane? So these questions are, of course, questions that need to be answered by the council as a whole. And by council, we are referring to the elected persons elected in May 2018 to constitute the council. Now, if there are people in the area, affected area, Brick Lane, who are in post as elected councillors in Tower Hamlets, then they have to explain why the community has been attacked in this way. I understand that it is claimed that a number of councillors or number of people involved within the council who have, according to their claim, the best interests of the community at heart, have tried to make the local businesses in Brick Lane and the affected residents and tenants and other people ordinarily resident in Brick Lane area, have made them aware of what the council's plan or plans were. If that is the case, then of course there shouldn't be any difficulty in publishing the dates and the times and the methods and the modes of those communications. So I'm asking the councillors for the Brick Lane ward, which has got a longer name, but it includes the Brick Lane area. The ward is Spitalfields and Bangla Town, I think, at the present time. So the Spitalfields and Bangla Town ward councillors should make public, and the meaning of public is as ordinarily defined, ordinarily legally defined, make public their actions in making the local community aware what the council was planning and plotting. If there is a risk to the careers of these persons, the councillors in the name of Spitalfields and Bangla Town, then they should communicate in confidence to people in the community whom they have absolutely no reason but to confide in with confidence what the threats are. And I am absolutely certain that those persons in the community, if they receive confidential evidence, information, tips as to what threat the Spitalfields and Bangla Town ward councillors are under for speaking out against the council's attack on the community via this particular latest confection of imposing closure signals and barriers and stopping traffic movement in and around Brick Lane. We shall be taking up these issues with rigor and with such immediacy that is unprecedented in the experience of these councillors and anyone else who is now on the council with them or alongside with them. This is also a call to the whoever the person is who is now the so-called monitoring officer in the name of Tower Hamlets Council, to advise the council decision makers to immediately remove the closure signals, signboards, barriers, obstructions, and to make ordinary traffic enable the ordinary traffic vehicles pass through Brick Lane as normal with immediate effect. If the monitoring officer refuses to so advise the council, including Will Tuckley, the so-called chief executive, then we give this undertaking confirmation that we shall include the monitoring officer as one of the obstructors, one of the violators of the law, because the law says in the details that any such decision that affects such widespread members and public warrants being only put in place after thorough, manifest, transparent, reasonable consultation, as opposed to the creepy word conversation that the diminutive John Biggs spewed to the Channel S quote chief reporter 2 days ago. There was no conversation worth mentioning with the community, because a conversation is not the legally owed consultation done extensively, openly, transparently, and reasonably, and by taking into account all the implications of such an attack that are immediately visible in the loss of business, loss of amenities, loss of access, and loss of the right to move freely the goods and services and the personnel in and around and through Brick Lane. And we remind the Tower Hamlets Council monitoring officer of the crane collapse on the 8th of July 2020 in Bow East, Bow, London E3, killing June Harvey, 85-year-old local woman, and narrowly sparing the lives of others who could have easily been killed at the same time instantaneously. So we are reminding the monitoring officer of the lethal negligence over the crane collapse and the lack of building regulation, building control that is entailed in that, and also going back to the death by falling bricks from another building in Badet Road called Kaylee Bohr, a woman in her early 30s who was effectively murdered by negligence, and the murder of the 5-year-old child, Alexia, the child who died in Myland Park in 2015. So these are all items of evidence of the Tower Hamlets Council having no regard for the safety of the people in the community and exposing them to lethal danger and to deadly danger. 3 people died because of Tower Hamlets Council building negligence, building control negligence. So any spewing done by diminutive John Biggs that he had conversation should have been immediately halted and frozen, and he should have been subjected to rigorous questioning by any investigative, intelligent, self-respecting, aware, quote, journalist. But there was no journalist involved. The item that Biggs was spewed in and paraded in was carried on the so-called Channel S. And it was immediately as a result of our campaign to stop the closure of the Brick Lane traffic and other attacks by the council entailed in that closure. And this was the reply that the Channel S provided on behalf of the council. And so therefore they completely failed to understand the written submission, the document and the demands, and the expressly stated demand and agreement at the meeting on the 30th of August 2020, which I chaired in Brick Lane. And we are saying to the Channel S that the campaign includes a campaign of complaining procedurally against them to the regulators, Ofcom, however dead Ofcom is. But that would be part of the evidence that we are communicating to Ofcom against Channel S for lying and carrying lies and untruths about the meeting, and also giving John the diminutive Biggs a false and unwarranted, unjustified spewing platform the day after. That is the 1st of September. So the Channel S carried 2 items. One on the 31st of August, which distorted our meeting as it presented the meeting and our speeches and our names, and also gave the wrong summary as to what we agreed. We already agreed an action campaign. It was not a discussion. So I'm making this broadcast as part of that agreement to campaign against our Hamlets Council's behavior and to continue an update on the demand that the Hamlets Council removes this obstruction as a matter of extreme urgency. No delay, no prevarication, no excuses. The community is losing every day, and the Hamlets Council is a council that has got a disreputable record on caring for the community. And Biggs has neither the intelligence, nor the ability, nor the concern, nor the decency to understand, to show understanding of the community and the meaning of Brick Lane in particular to the community, the Bangladeshis, then wider community, and the Bangladeshis as a whole, the Bangladeshis internationally as well. It's a very, very positive image Brick Lane has in the history of the Bangladeshis in the UK, and that goes back 100 years, although the number of people have varied in terms of the concentration and density of Bangladeshis or people who are called Bangladeshis since December 1971. There have been other kind of political categorization and naming, but the people are from the same background or similar backgrounds. And the role they have played and are playing in terms of the welfare of the community here generally is a positive role, and the role they played in terms of the historical stand taken for justice back in Bangladesh has been positive. And we have been campaigning for the recognition of Brick Lane in that way. We have not left any room for the attacks to be mounted every few years by Tower Hamlets Council as part of the agenda of racist dislocation, dispersal, displacement of the community under various guises. Of course, the two other campaigns that I led and organized were the 1973 campaign against the Sunday Times article, byline to Leslie Garner, a racist, contemptibly ignorant woman, Leslie Garner, who is a racist and who remains a racist because she came back decades after doing that attack by the Sunday Times magazine. She came back in the early part of the first decade of this century to appear to be supporting the anti-Bangladeshi racist stooge, the niece Monica Ali, the nephew niece, like the nephew Tom. She is the stooge, racist stooge who was paid £250,000 in advance by her racist publishers who distorted and foisted their distorted view against our community in the name of Brick Lane, in the book so-called. You cannot write a fiction about a real community and then fictionalize the distortions that you want to inflict or ascribe to the community. That is what the racists did. And that is what the criminal Monica Ali did. And we are again asking for Monica Ali to withdraw that book and her publishers to withdraw that book and to apologize to the community. And this statement that I've just made is only a beginning of the updated version of the campaign against Monica Ali and her book. And Freak, F-R-E-K, F-R-E-A-K, Freak Dondi. He must apologize for his lying, quote, books at the expense of the community. And his co-crooks and co-anti-Bangladeshis must apologize. So this is a series of demands to all the perpetrators that have been attacking the Bangladeshis under various guises. I mean, a book suggests scholarship, suggests kind of decency, suggests honesty. But Monica Ali was dirty, filthy, pornographic, and absolutely disgustingly pro-racist and anti-Bangladeshi in every respect, in every definition, as is Freak Dondi. And Freak Dondi's corruption money that he got from the BBC in confecting that particular series of racist plays aired on BBC Two television during May 1986. That has not only not been accounted for, it is now part of the overall campaign, that the Khoodeelaar campaign is legally consolidating as the wider claim against all the racists and their agents and the stooges that have been attacking the Bangladeshis generally in Brick Lane and the Siletis Bangladeshis in Brick Lane in particular.